HBCU Game Day, and boy, do we have a special week. FAMU will face Jackson State, the biggest game in the SWAC so far this year. The game usually takes place at the beginning of the season. Well, it did for the last 3 years in the Orange Blossom Classic. Coming off of COVID-19 break in 2021, the Jackson State Tigers, led by Coach Prime at the time and Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, took a 7-6 win over the Rattlers, the sole touchdown, a quarterback sneak by Shador Sanders. The following year, the Rattlers limped into Miami and the Tigers made them pay 59-3. Nothing went right for the Rattlers. Everything went right for Coach Prime and his team, and Shador Sanders had a field day. Last year, Willie Simmons in 2023 got his first win against Jackson State as head coach, 28-10. It was also the second game in the debut season of head coach T.C. Taylor at Jackson State. And so here we are in 2024, and again, the SWAC is looking toward Jackson, Mississippi for the biggest game of the season. I'm Vaughn Wilson, joined by Stephen J. Gaither, and boy, we are just excited. The whole HBCU world is excited. The game has now been moved up to ESPNU, so everyone expects this to be a tough game of two of the best teams in the SWAC.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Vaughn. Two nationally ranked teams as we get into this week. Really excited to see that. I vote on the Stats FCS poll. And so, I've had both of these teams in the top 25. And so I'm glad to see that, they're getting that recognition. And it just sets the stage for a really big game in Jackson. And we know that there's nothing that they love better in Jackson than a big game.
Yeah, the Rattlers come in at number 25 on the Stats Perform poll. On the AFCA poll, FAMU sits at number 18. Jackson State sits at number 25. So you got two top 25 ranked teams heading to Jackson, Mississippi. It couldn't be any bigger. Headed to the vet. I've been there for FAMU and Jackson. Earl Holmes was the coach. The last second Hail Mary. Jackson State beat FAMU 22-17. It was quite the scene. And so now we're at a situation where T.C. Taylor and he's done a great job this year. He's been establishing himself outside of Coach Prime. He's been establishing himself that this is his team. The team is playing differently. They're playing better offensively, and he's taken over play calling duties, and there's definitely been results for him being the play caller. On the other side, you got Coach James Colsey entering his first year after taking over for Coach Willie Simmons. The Rattlers have had a stop and start year. Unfortunately, with the Hurricanes, the Rattlers have had 3 bye weeks already this year. So you got to wonder if the Rattlers are at a disadvantage for not being able to gain some momentum. Both teams had a bye week this week, Stephen.
Yeah, no, it's like you say, it's really just watching. Obviously, it was there at the MEAC SWAC Challenge with you, game number 1, and since then, it's so funny. I heard Coach Dawson Odoms on the other call saying they're finally glad that just have their first break because they've been going since July, and then what FAMU's had to do. Kind of the stop and go type of thing. They played week 0, then they played week 1. And then since then, it's just been so much stop and go, losing the game, pushing the game back against Alabama A&M. And it's definitely, you wonder about, how can the team, how difficult may that make the team stay focused? Then some might say, it's more of a chance. It's less of a chance probably to be as banged up as some of these other teams that, haven't had a bye week yet either. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see. You talked about Coach Taylor and what he's done with Jackson State since Deion Sanders went over to Colorado. Almost a similar situation over in Tallahassee with Coach Colsey taking over for Willie Simmons. Both guys had to replace the starting quarterbacks from the previous administration, even though both guys were on the previous administration and taking over, championship teams and having that high expectation. And so far, T.C. Taylor, I think in his career, I think he's now he's 11 and 11-6, 4-2 this year, and then Coach Colsey 3-2. Those losses against FBS teams, they've been able to weather the storm and win, pull out some tight games. So I think there's a lot of optimism and intrigue, in this game, just outside of Tallahassee and Jackson, and even outside of the SWAC. Just there's a lot of anticipation around it.
Right, a lot of football to play, but obviously in the MEAC, North Carolina Central is looking like the juggernaut in the MEAC. And so, and the MEAC is decided much earlier because it's decided on the field with just 6 teams. It's determined way ahead of when the SWAC opponent champion is determined. And now with the change in the schedule of the Celebration Bowl, that champion won't be determined until a week before the Celebration Bowl. So unless you try to prepare for both teams and then scale it down to prepare for the team that you're facing, the SWAC will stretch it out until they decide who will be the eventual champion. And Saturday goes a long way to that. If a team loses on Saturday, it's a hard way to go because you'd have to expect the other team to lose 2 games that season. And I don't think anyone sees that. The team that comes out victorious on Saturday has a big leg up running down the rest of the season. Of course, plenty of football to be played, great possibilities for upsets and that sort of thing. But you just got a feeling that this game will decide definitely the SWAC East champion and possibly the SWAC champion.
Yeah, I mean, right now, obviously, when we came into the season, FAMU was reigning champion, but Alabama State was picked to finish first. And, they've had some moments and some bright spots where they looked like maybe this was the team that people thought. But, FAMU was able to go into their homecoming and dismantle them. I don't believe they played Jackson State just yet. But obviously, right now at this point, those 2 teams and these 2 programs have, risen to the top of where they are right now. Again, as you say, it's still quite a bit of ways to go. Over in the West, they're really, trying to struggle. There's really, it's kind of everybody's trying to figure out which way is up. Alcorn State seems to be trending up in the right direction. But yeah, the SWAC East has been where has been the dominant, they've been the dominant program, the dominant division for a while now, even back when Alcorn was still there. So, you expect that whoever wins this, obviously, like you said, big leg up. And, whoever loses this, from experience, at FAMU, I know they know for sure you never want to be waiting for the other team to slip up because, it's football. Strange things happen. There's a lot of weeks of football, but the odds say that, whoever gets the stranglehold on it so far between these 2, since they've been in the conference, they don't usually let go of it.
Now, we've seen some powerful offense come out of TC Taylor, 35.5 points a game. Stephen, let's dig into some of the numbers. I know you did some research and you have some comparisons going on, but obviously that number is a big number, 35.5 points a game. Usually if a team can score 35 points, they will win a game. So defensively, not as great as the offense, but let's just dig into the numbers a little bit.
Yeah, so you look at the numbers right now. You have to keep in mind too who they've played. FAMU is taking on Miami as well as Troy, obviously 2 FBS programs, and so both of those are losses. So they're coming in averaging about 93 yards per game on the ground. FAMU, and they have yet to get a rushing touchdown this season. And so that's going to be key if they can get the run game going for them. Over at Jackson State, they did play Lane College, a Division II program, but they also have been able to put up points against SWAC programs, Alabama A&M, as well as I think the other team that they played, Prairie View as well. So, I'm sorry, Texas Southern. So, they have a varied attack. Again, back when they were rolling under Deion Sanders, they were, much more of a passing team under Shadur Sanders. But now they've got a really good balance between the run and the pass for Jackson State. They are, they're averaging Irv Mulligan is a guy who kind of exploded the previous year at the MEAC SWAC Challenge, and he's averaging over 5.5 yards a carry. They got a young kid by the name of Travis Terrell Jr., who had a 96-yard kickoff touchdown return, and he's a speedster. And I know TC Taylor was really bragging about him during the SWAC media day as an incoming freshman. And then they've got a serviceable passing game with Jacoby and Morgan, who can beat you with his arm and his legs. So the Rattlers definitely got their work cut out for him. Again, but I think, maybe if you're Jackson State, maybe you wanted to keep playing into this game as hot as they had been. But, both teams come in with the bye.
Yeah, and also you look at it, you look at both coaches, T.C. Taylor in his second year as head coach, James Cozy in his first year as a head coach. One thing about both of these guys, they're both class guys. They don't get involved in the riffraff and back and forth or anything on social media. Two great guys that you really want to pull for. T.C. Taylor, I met him last year at the Orange Blossom Classic. He gave me such a warm greeting that I became a fan. I wish him well. James Cozy, another guy, one of the good guys, and he stepped in to a situation, behind a great. Both of these coaches have had to step in behind great coaches, and to come in with humility and not. It's not like Willie Simmons built up a lot of attention around the Rattlers off the field. I can't say that for Jackson State. Coach Prime was a magnet for attention. Not of his own doing. He was just it's just because of who he was. But to see T.C. Taylor come in and be humble, face the criticism last year is because the team was not doing what Coach Prime and the team did. To stabilize and to come back and be in this position this weekend says a lot about his character. And the same thing for Coach Cozy. When Coach Simmons left, there was quite a circus around FAMU. Cozy was chosen. He and his staff have just calmed that down. You got a brand new offensive coordinator and a brand new defensive coordinator at FAMU, and they have just maintained to keep the ball rolling so far. So it's really two very evenly matched teams. I don't see a great advantage on either of the teams. I think it's going to be a battle fought to the end. And it's definitely going to be decided late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I know if we'll be looking at it, the new quarterback Richardson, he's been really efficient. He hasn't he's taking care of the ball, but it's going to be interesting. Jackson State, their defense will give up a lot of yards, but they've gotten some key interceptions this year, and can they catch Richardson sleeping, or can he can he continue to really play the high level efficient ball? And I think in the games that they've won, he's shown that to be cool, calm, and collective, and to not make the right decisions. So obviously his decision making is going to be key. From experience, it's going to be a loud atmosphere. It's going to be a boisterous atmosphere. No, obviously they have that at Bragg, but this time you're at the other opponents, and this is a fan base that's going to get after them, and it's going to be an environment that I think for sure both teams' mettle is going to be tested. When you look at FAMU, again, the run game, the first game of the year, we saw them against Norfolk State. And Norfolk State really had their way with them early in the game. They made some adjustments later on, but Jackson State is going to want to run that ball, whether it's with Mulligan, whether it's with Jacoby and Morgan keeping the ball as well. Can FAMU make Jackson State have to air it out to pass to beat them? And I think that's strategic wise, that's probably going to be the key thing to look at.
I'm going to correct the stats. Right here, Stephen, and I know it's posted on FAMU's site as well, and Alabama State kept the score, but FAMU scored their last touchdown they're next to the last touchdown on a reverse, so they actually do have a rushing touchdown. Okay, but none from the running backs. That was a wide receiver on an end around. But I'm sure the stats, the stats are what they are. There are errors in them every now and then. This game could come down to special teams, and FAMU's special teams, especially the kickers, have been stellar this year. Cameron Gillis is all SWAC kicker, has just been remarkable this season. If it comes down to that, there may be a slight advantage on the FAMU side. Coach Prime took Monta with him, so if he hadn't, it would definitely be a dead heat. But like you said, it's the best in HBCU football. And you talk about visiting the vet. The last time I visited the vet, I just remember the sonic boom was so freaking loud on that end of the field that they definitely are a 12th man. They help get the crowd going. The fans show up in Jackson. So I expect it to be one of the greatest HBCU football environments this year. And so
probably a homecoming-ish crowd, as far as the number of people that'll be there for sure.
And this is one of the great things about FAMU moving to the SWAC. No doubt the attendances have been up. Last week, Alabama State set a record. Week before last, Alabama State set a home record, but that was aided by nearly the entire visitor side and some more spaces around there, because it's only 3 hours. It's actually closer to FAMU than Bethune-Cookman is to get to Montgomery. So FAMU joined the SWAC because of the proximity, and it pays dividends in situations like this with Jackson State, where you just get on I-10, go west, and make your way out to Jackson. You're going to go to Montgomery, get on 231 and head north, and you're there. And same thing for Huntsville. Same thing, Baton Rouge, get on I-10, go west. It's really the proximity of the SWAC is absolutely. We're seeing the benefits of FAMU being in the SWAC and the attendance and the excitement around the games that FAMU did not enjoy in the MEAC. There were often times, and I will call the names, but there were often times where FAMU would go visit teams in the MEAC, and there would be more FAMU people there than the visiting schools. It was that happened several times, except the obvious of, North Carolina A&T and South Carolina State.
Right.
Most of the others there in North Carolina Central, but there's very high probability in a lot of the other situations. And I love the MEAC. I miss the MEAC. I'm definitely not down in the MEAC. I love the MEAC. I love being in there. There's a lot of things I miss about being in the MEAC. However, the proximity of being in the SWAC is an advantage for the fans because they can go to the games. They can, day trips, their buses heading to Jackson. So I expect a robust crowd coming back, just for the simple fact that, how last season starting off in the Orange Blossom Classic, T.C. Taylor had gotten his first win in the MEAC SWAC against Buddy Pugh on the first game of his last season, and then to come away empty-handed from Miami. I know he's been looking forward to this game. I know Coach Cozy knows the importance of this game. He's looking toward it. Both sets of players are excited. It's on ESPNU. The game has been elevated to one of the premier networks on ESPN, so everybody realizes the importance of this game.
Now, I have to ask, this is a question that's always pertinent now. Is the band coming? Is the 100 coming?
The Marching 100 is not coming.
Okay.
It was not, and people have to realize, I think they try to alternate, especially when a band comes, like last year, Alabama State brought their band to FAMU. So you try to return.
Reciprocal. Got it.
Yeah, you try to reciprocate that. And that definitely played a part in that crowd being that big. As well as I know, there are people that come to the games for halftime. No doubt about it at HBCUs. So that definitely helped to elevate the crowd at Alabama State. And since they had brought their band that previous year, it only seems right that they travel there. So it would have been great to see both bands there, both highly decorated bands, both with their own unique styles and resumes that are to dream of. They both continue to gather accolades, and I just love seeing good HBCU bands. Just like at Alabama State last week, that was one of the best HBCU football environments you're going to find. It was just, I know Alabama State people might not be as happy about it, but just from a neutral standpoint, you got a packed house, you got two bands, you got a competitive football game. The night before, FAMU alumni and Alabama State alumni had a party together. You know, I mean, it's just the best of HBCU culture. And then you got the parade. If you missed any of it, we have the parade, the tailgates, the game, and the halftime are on HBCU Gameday's YouTube page. You can see whatever you missed. They had so much food out there, such a great time. The parade was really, really nice to see all of those high school bands and campus organizations. Is just something special about HBCU homecomings. Well, this isn't homecoming, but this game this weekend is definitely going to have that flavor. The pits will be going in the parking lot. The tailgating will be on 10. The banter, a lot of FAMU fans going. They'll be surrounded by a wave of blue and red. It will be a tough game. There will be an advantage for Jackson State that they have their band, because FAMU quarterback Daniel Richardson, I think he really feeds off of the band. He loves the band. He loves that as a part of the environment. And so he even made a post last week, God, can we help get the band to Jackson? You know, so just, you know, the reality is the football team, you move about 150 people. With a marching band, you move about 3 times that. About 450, you know, so you got to just realize the cost is tripled to actually bring the band. And with this being a SWAC game, it's home and home. There's no guarantees to help facilitate the band coming. So they have to be careful how they schedule those. And schools just can't afford to send the band all the time. It would have been nice to have them, but so in this case, the Sonic Boom of the South will have center stage. They will have the whole halftime. You know, the drum angels will step into the vet, and the dancing girls and all that fanfare. I'm just looking forward to a great game this Saturday, the top game in HBCU football. And I think all eyes of the HBCU world and a lot of the FCS world. I mean, you got number 18 and number 25. There will be a lot of eyeballs on this game Saturday. I expect the ratings to be really good because I expect the game to be competitive until the end.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely be keeping up with it, you know, for sure. And again, whoever gets this definitely has the upper hand as we're now on the back end of the season.
Yeah, and Stephen, another question that a lot of people ask. Tallahassee was fortunate. It did not get directly hit by either of the hurricanes. Very, very fortunate. It definitely caused power outages. So the Alabama A&M game was rescheduled till after the Florida Classic. That in itself is a detriment to FAMU. And this game could be the reason why it's such a detriment. If FAMU were to lose in Jackson and continue to have a great season, they would not be eligible to go to the FCS playoffs because the date of the Alabama A&M game is the start of the playoffs. So if your team's not available, you're not eligible. And so that game has to be played. It's a SWAC game. So the remnants of the hurricane actually did cause some damage to FAMU, not the physical side this time, but the scheduling side and football wise, it did cause a big issue. But there was no choice but to move that game. You can't play. You don't know which way those hurricanes are going. And want to send a shout out to Bethune-Cookman on their way to recovery. Their campus was flooded. The team has been practicing in Orlando over at UCF. The men's basketball team was evacuated to like Atlanta or something like that. The volleyball team evacuated to Tallahassee. And, you know, we talk about HBCU love. The volleyball team last week, Monday, evacuated to Tallahassee ahead of the hurricane, and they played the Rattlers on Wednesday. But then they were supposed to host volleyball the weekend, FAMU invited them to stay and invited their opponents to come to Tallahassee. So you know how you have your traveling buddies. It was Southern and Alcorn, where everybody came to Tallahassee, and it was like a round robin tournament. You know, it was the essence of what we are as HBCUs, to look out for each other. We fight hard, but at the end of the day, we are all one, and that was shown this past week with the volleyball team. So we want to send our prayers to Bethune-Cookman for a speedy recovery back to campus. We want those kids to get back to normal, to get back to their classrooms and that sort of thing. So while we're enjoying this weekend's festivities, just take a little time, send a little prayer down to Bethune-Cookman, and we're going to enjoy a great weekend of football. And so that'll take us out of here. Don't forget, we've got a lot of good content coming up for the Florida Blue Florida Classic. We are a partner of Florida Blue Florida Classic, so we've got a lot of good stuff coming out as we lead up toward that game near the end of the season. Everybody tune in Saturday, 2:30 to catch Jackson State hosting Florida A&M. Promises to be some good HBCU football. For HBCU Game Day, I'm Vaughn Wilson, signing off for Stephen J. Gaither.